What's up, y'all? Well, I'm working on other videos and doing other stuff and making music and, like doing school and stuff, because that's something that I have now all of a sudden. I decided, hey, it's been a while since I made a review, and I just watched this movie called Weathering with You, directed by the same man who made Your Name, a movie that I absolutely love that I will talk about in the future. But for now, we're not talking about that, we're talking about this. And even though I should be talking about that, because that has a lot in play to do with what I thought about this is what I'm talking about. Leave me alone, I'm going to make a video about this. So first off, I would like to say, this is going to be another one of those pros and cons video where I talk about the stuff I like, the stuff I don't like, and then I'm going to make a conclusion with it. So, it was overall cute, but it felt a lot more bland compared to Your Name. So let's talk about the stuff I like. The animation. The animation was... I can't even fathom how far Japanese animation has come throughout these years. The camera movement in some of the points of this movie are just so ridiculous. It feels like I'm watching something out of The Favorite. But it's so interesting that something so unique like Japanese animation, which has a more simpler and sort of cute look to it, can just have such a beautiful animation style. It's all about the ambience, which is another point I make in my pros, is that just the ambient feel of Tokyo. It's raining. There's points where it's sunny, it's snowing. There's just so many beautiful scenes of atmosphere where the characters will just be sitting there, or you'll just be seeing the city as it's raining or as lights shining through, and it's one nice looking movie. It's one hell of a fucking beautiful movie. Another thing that I quite enjoyed was the voice acting. Well, for the most part. I thought overall, everyone in this movie did a great job. I thought Hina, the girl who played Hina, did a great job with that voice. I watched the Japanese version because subs, not dubs. And yeah, everyone pretty much did the great amount of dramatic voice acting that they needed to for certain scenes. They just seemed like when they were really happy when they seemed happy. It's just, that distinct Japanese voice acting. It felt very unique and fit with the animation style of the characters in the movie, and I thought it was overall pretty good. I thought the concept was pretty good. I'll get back to this later on, but it was an interesting concept to say the least, and overall I would say it was tackled in a fair way. They could have done a bit more with it. I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, overall an interesting concept, and definitely something that caught my attention the first 15 minutes as I watched this movie, as previously I didn't know anything about the movie. Now, this can be a pro or a con for multiple people. The use of real brands like McDonald's, Apple, IMAX, real logos and brands. A lot of people watch movies for escapism, to not think about stuff like that, and it can ruin or distract them from the movie viewing experience. Not me. It had a very appropriate use of consumerism in the film, and I thought it was quite interesting, to say the least, and I thought it was cool. The sound design, oh my goodness, the sound design with some of the stuff in this movie is so good. Obviously, I've talked about the animation with the raining and the storms and them falling and them going into clouds. Yeah, no, I had no complaints there. If anything, I made a mental note of how good everything sounded. I thought the sound design was fantastic in the movie. Characters, overall, I think the main girl and her brother had a very cute dynamic, and they both individually as well were my favorite characters of the entire movie. I just thought they were so awesome and cute. Overall, I also enjoyed the humor. It's a hit or miss for some people, but it was funny when it had to be. It didn't feel too annoying, and there were some moments where humor would just sort of quickly go by, and I thought it was enjoyable. I enjoyed the humor in the movie. And the last and final thing I will say is there were some moments in this movie where I did get a little emotional. I did ooh-woo a couple times. It was nowhere near as emotional as I got when I saw Your Name. I will talk about that in another video. But I will say, this movie did make me feel a couple emotions besides disappointed throughout the movie, which leads to my cons. While I overall kind of enjoyed this movie, I will say I was quite disappointed after watching something like Your Name. Where to start? The main actor's voice, he was completely overdoing it. He seemed very loud, very angsty, and I know Japanese animation, anime type stuff, isn't the most realistic voice acting in the world. I know a lot of it can be quite dramatic. This just felt annoying and didn't really feel like it fit with the character. I I guess it did, because going on to my next point, I didn't like the main character. He was quite unlikable in my opinion. He had like weird tropes that he would do or stuff he would say that annoyed me or made me think, oh god, I shouldn't like this character. He just overall annoyed me, and maybe the voice perfectly captured this, because I didn't like the voice acting. I thought it was overdone, and I thought the character was kind of overdoing some of the stuff he did. But no, I didn't really like the main character in the movie, and that's quite a big deal when it comes to trying to make you give a shit about a movie. I thought the story first half was pretty interesting. Like I said, I liked the concept of the movie quite a bit, but the second half, it gets bland. It gets bland real quick. I didn't like the soundtrack either. There were like some really good emotional scenes that were just heavily like interrupted with loud ass Japanese songs in the background. And I know Your Name kind of did this too, but it felt a lot less frequent and more appropriate, and not always perfect in that movie either. This movie, it stuck out like a sore thumb. It was bad. It was also quite predictable. There's a point in the movie where stuff starts going on and you're like, oh, there might be a negative outcome or consequence with what's going on. And well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but It's predictable. It's pretty damn predictable. And finally, I did not like the ending to the movie. Again, with characters and character choices, that's all I'm gonna say without spoiling it. I left the film overall pretty unsatisfied with how it ended and how it resolved everything, which I think is a pretty big deal, because Your Name didn't have this at all, and even gave a more emotional ending. And not just that, but like I gotta talk about Your Name soon. All I will say is the ending was very unfulfilling and very unsatisfying. And yeah, I guess the movie has a purpose to exist, but it overall felt like much more bland than Your Name. And while I guess I overall kind of liked it, I'm gonna fully say I was quite disappointed with this movie. So yeah, I think 6 out of 10 is a fair rating to give it. I guess I overall liked it, but it's either gonna stay at this rating or get lower with rewatches. I can't see it going up in ratings anytime soon. And yeah, that's what I thought about Weathering with You.